I came across a video the other day of a professor who used to be an atheist until he died and came back to life.
I've always wanted to cover this topic. Good old near-death experiences and their profound effect on the humans. But, right, this better not be Professor Jesus, 'cause that's just hacks. Jesus is well known for his extremely overpowered and fast respawn time. So just pretending that coming back from death again has any sort of effect on him is just taking the Michael.
And during the time that he was clinically dead, he claimed he met Jesus and that changed everything.
Oh, good, it's not Prof J. But yeah, brains do a lot of weird shit when they think you are dying, because for some reason, almost all of these near-death experiences are different. Sometimes to the extent of having completely different religions involved. Almost like it's more to do with the culture one resides in, rather than any particular faith actually being true.
Now, I know there's a lot of videos like this out on the web, some obviously more legit than others.
Yeah, sure. Obviously more legit. They definitely aren't all bullshit. Although that's not really fair. I'm sure some of the people do believe that this thing happened to them and all that jazz. But, well, legit is one of those things that requires that evidence stuff. I know, it's so unfair, but what are you gonna do? Oh, that's right, get some.
But that's not the reason why I'm making this video. My point isn't to validate or invalidate his experience one way or the other.
Mine is. But that is mostly because I am a giant douchebag that wants to piss on everyone's chips and make sure that the entire universe understands that their lives are all just as pointless and meaningless as mine. You're welcome. Because now you can go out and actually make some meaning that has nothing to do with some ancient made-up bullshit. I'm a goddamn hero. Literally.
I'm making this video because there was a part in the video that made me think about how, even if you don't believe that Christianity is true, you should still want it to be true.
That is possibly the stupidest sentence that I have heard in my entire day. Seriously, we should want Christianity to be true. Like, what? First off, which one? 'Cause there are like way too many different versions to say, this is Christianity? So way to narrow that shit down, buddy. And beaconedly, if we take it as all the things that the majority of you agree with, then no, that shit is horrible with unbelievable amounts of completely f***ed up opinions. No thanks. And that's coming from someone who eats babies because he thinks it's hilarious.
And that's what we're going to talk about today. So if this is your first time here, hit that sub button and meme team. You guys ready?
I'm never ready, mostly because there's just not enough whiskey in the world to deal with the bad ideas I subject myself to on a bi-weekly basis. You would think that I would just stop, but apparently I hate myself that much, which is accurate.
Then let's go! Now, before we go ahead and watch a couple of parts of the video, I just want to make something clear so that way we can just go ahead and get it out of the way.
That when you shout, let's go, apparently your entire house shakes? Well, remind me not to mess with this guy, at least not while he's inside my house, because he has the power of a god himself. If he just shouted, let's go, over and over, he'd knock the whole damn building down. I mean, it's a pretty cool superpower, if oddly specific.
Simply wanting something to be true obviously doesn't make it true.
Oh, cool. Video ends there, right? Because no duh. Except you totally believe in Mr. Bible and the Book of God, don't you? And will not make the connection that, well, just because you believe in Christianity doesn't make that true. No matter your reasoning and no matter how much you believe your amazing evidence supports that belief.
I don't care if that something is the best story in the world. If it's not true, wanting it to be true doesn't make it any more true.
Dude, isn't the whole Jesus thing literally referred to as the greatest story ever told? Maybe this is just your secret way at hinting to your actual beliefs. And maybe you don't even know that you hold those beliefs. Nah, probably not. I bet he's just not that self-aware and doesn't see the irony in making that statement whilst believing the things he does based on literal faith.
For example, if there really is no God and there's no life after death, that's simply the way things are. And us wanting there to be a God or God to exist or wanting there to be life after death doesn't change that in the slightest.
Correct. And if we finish this video here, one might think that you are actually being intellectually honest here. But unfortunately, you follow it up immediately with something that, well, just listen.
Even the Apostle Paul said something similar in the Bible when he said that if Jesus didn't really raise from the dead, then we really are without hope and we're to be pitied above all men.
Yeah, that's not something someone who is making the previous statement as anything other than a way to cover his bases would say. And I mean, this is entirely self-defeating. If X Bible story is not true, then world bad. But if it's not true, that means your own story about how things are bad with that not being true is also not true. So can safely be ignored in its entirety.
I don't see how you can read the New Testament without noticing how often the writers emphasize the necessity of believing things because they're true.
I don't see how you can read the New Testament. That involves reading, and reading is for losers. I have all my books liquidized and then injected directly into my eyeballs with a big-ass syringe. But yeah, of course they would say that, because they also emphasize that what they are saying is the true thing. So believe my true thing because my true thing is true. I don't think there's anyone alive who has at least a partially working brain bin that thinks that you shouldn't believe things that are factually accurate.
Truth is highly valued in the Bible.
Lol, no. No, it isn't. The best you can possibly give them is that their truth is highly valued in the Bible. But your truth and the truth are very rarely the same thing, especially when it comes to something as subjective as the Bible or Religi Boys in general.
But if you've been following this channel for a while, you already know that I strongly believe that Christianity is true and that we have good reasons and evidence to believe that it is.
And there it is, obviously. And good reason? Do you mean good, factual, scientifically accurate reasons, or cherry-picked interpretations of history and reality to fit how I want things to be instead of accepting how things are? Don't answer that. I think we all already know the truth, TM.
And I don't think that any other worldview makes nearly as much sense of the world than Christianity does.
Really? I mean, of course you don't, but really? Like, if you actually think about it, though, it really doesn't. Especially if you don't believe in Lord Godric of Bibletown. Because then it makes literally zero sense. It's just a bunch of tall tales that are constantly talking about how they are true, because they say they are true, and anyone who doesn't agree will be punished. The fact is, any worldview that's not Christian very easily sees how it doesn't hold up based on their own worldview, because duh.
Now that we got that out the way, let's go ahead and roll the clip.
Okay, hopefully it won't be really silly, undermining your entire premise or anything like that. Epic foreshadowing!
So I called out into the darkness, Jesus, please save me.
Please, save me!
And he came.
Love it, love everything about it. First off, he came, did he? Yeah, he did. Jesus loves it when people shout out his name, really gets him going. Second, why the f*** would an atheist be shouting for Jesus? That'd be like you dying and shouting for the goddamn Jabberwocky, something that you would believe to be fictional. So that already pokes some pretty epic holes in this entire thing. Like, maybe if Jesus just turned up, that'd be one thing. But shouting for him? Either this guy is just making it up, which is pretty likely, or the guy wasn't really an atheist and was one of those rare, and they are rare, but atheist, in quotes, who actually believes in God, but for whatever reason denies him. I mean, I suppose it is completely possible that he just had that random experience while he was dying, but he would have had it based on the culture he was growing up in. If he'd have grown up in India, he'd have been shouting for Vishnu, and that would have equally been as good a proof of his existence as to Jesus's, aka zero.
He came.
Alright, steady on. This is turning into one of them Shikaka videos I've heard about on that there Cornhub website. that people on the internet seem to like so much. Don't know anything about it myself, but that's only because when I try to go to them, they say if I'm 18 plus and I have to leave because I'm like 35 plus, which is way too old, I assume. I would pretend just to get in, but I don't want the police to take me away to lying jail for liars. You know what they would do to someone as pretty as me in there? They would talk to me. God, it doesn't bear thinking about.
At first, there was a tiny little speck of light in the darkness, and it very rapidly got bright.
Oh, thank God. When you said there was a tiny little, I thought we were sticking with the theme. Good. Light. A classic that does often show up, but for some reason, never in the exact same way. Almost like this kind of experience isn't actually universal in a way that would make it, you know, how did the guy put it? Legit.
And the light became so bright that if it were in this world, it would have consumed me. I just would have fried me to a crisp, but it wasn't.
Almost like you were, like, dreaming. Interesting. I mean, obviously, it's a real thing that really happened and just so happened to have rules that are completely different to the ones of the world or something.
At all hot or dangerous there, the light just came upon me, and he reached down. He was in this light, and he reached down out of this light.
And then slowly ran his hand over your face and whispered in your ear, "You are dead," before licking your forehead and farting loudly. Jesus is a super weird dude, right?
And gently started to pick me up, and in his light, I could see that I was gore and filth and wounds all over, and I looked like roadkill.
Well, okay, that is spooky. I mean, you suffered some kind of event that caused you to nearly die or die and be resuscitated. Presumably something pretty traumatic happened to your body, and somehow your body knew that you were all kinds of messed up. Nah, that doesn't sound right. No, you must have been in Godland hanging out with Professor J and his great big balls of light. That's the only thing that makes sense.
And he's gently putting his...
God damn it, could you stop making this sound like a sex thing? Never getting monetized at this rate with all the coming and the little things and gently putting those things in places. Pure filth the afterlife is. Pure filth.
Hands underneath me and very tenderly picking me up, and as he's touching me...
Oh, God damn it.
Everything just goes away. All the wounds, all the pain, all the dirt, it just kind of like evaporated away.
So I want to pause right there to explain something.
Oh, thank Christ. This is going to be significantly less awkward now, right? Oh, God, I hope so. But yeah, sure, explain away. I don't care what it is, just I need a break from the abject absurdity of this.
What I love about this clip is how his experience gives a beautiful illustration of the significance of what Jesus did for us according to Christianity.
Never mind. Back into absurdity we go. Just, you know, way less sexy. But yeah, no, it doesn't.
In Christianity, God put on human flesh and came into our world and suffered and died for us so that way we could live.
That sounds absolutely nothing like what was described there at all. Also, that's still a really silly story. You will never convince me that an all-powerful God creature would need to do anything other than decide to do something to make that thing happen. 0 out of 10 needs more dragons.
Jesus lived a perfect life and was without fault, and he offers the life that he lived as a sacrifice for us as a free gift that we can choose to accept or reject.
What does perfect even mean? And seriously, so no one else could follow Jesus' example perfectly and then die, but that wouldn't count, that wouldn't be as special, because what? They're not God's son? It's always bloody nepotism with these deities, isn't it?
If we do accept it, when we stand before God, God sees us as if we lived the life that Christ lived. It's the greatest conceivable gift that you could imagine.
You know, I've had some people arguing with me that, no, you can't just say, me am accept Jesus and then bam, free pass for being a giant dickbag your entire life. That am not what the Crimsbeam say. But I'm sorry, the fact is that That is what some people believe, and your interpretation is fucking irrelevant to that fact. This is what guys like this think and say. Stop arguing with me like I'm the one who came up with the idea. Punk-ass bitches, all of you.
His clip also reminds us of how we got a glimpse of what eternity was like when Christ healed people.
Right, okay, but what the fuck has that got to do with me, an atheist, wanting to believe your bullshit? Because right now, it only sounds like you want me to believe it and are just puking hot, steamy apologetics into my face without actually making an argument.
Those who trusted in him were healed, just as the man in the clip was healed. And spiritually, that's the same thing that happens to our souls.
You are so absolutely awful at this, dude. Like, seriously, all you were doing is repeating shit that I don't believe. But I don't believe it, so it's meaningless. And if you think that telling anyone something they don't believe over and over again is going to do anything other than irritate them, you got another thing coming. Right, I give up trying to give you full context because you're just repeating yourself. I'm going to skip to where he actually articulates the reason why we should want Christianity. And yes, you guessed it, it's going to be dumb.
The whole purpose of my existence had been to love God, love my neighbor as myself. That's why I had been created. That's what I was in this world to.
He puts a really, really, really long clip in there. And this bit is literally all he needs to make his argument. I guess you've got to reach that 10-minute mark somehow.
A lot of us know what happens when you fall in love and you're loved back by someone.
Is it cake? Maybe some kind of pie? I don't know, but people bang on about it all the time, so I have to assume it's some kind of dessert. Because dessert is freaking awesome. But no one loves me, so I can only guess at this point.
It's an incredible experience that floods you with joy, peace, generosity, makes you feel compelled to give the other person your all, and makes you want to praise and simply admire that person as much as you can.
I'm sorry. The fuck? Jokes aside, that sounds like a really unhealthy infatuation rather than love. Now, I know love is subjective as shit, but to me, love is simple. Love is when someone constantly does shit so annoying all the time that it makes you want to put rocks in their pockets and throw them in a river, but for some reason you just can't do that. That's when you know you've met the one.
Take a second and think about that joy that you get from loving someone else and being in love.
No, other people aren't whiskey, so I just don't get it. Unless I should imagine that they are whiskey and oh my God, that's just... They make me so happy. It's beautiful, man. Such joy. Much whiskey. Wow.
The only thing that dilutes or destroys that experience is broken or faulty love, the fear of being hurt, or the love coming to an end.
Or if, say, you slightly upset your loved one and they then set you on fire forever. That would certainly sour my concepts of a person. Hell, if they even threaten to do that for any reason, I would assume that they're a psychopath and I just wouldn't want anything to do with them.
But if Christianity is true, we'll experience that love in a perfect way, since God is not just the source of all love, but God is love.
If. And you know what? There's nothing in the universe that convinces me, or even most people, that your version of things is true. And that's not forgetting, like I said, this apparent love creature is also contradictory in nature and does things according to your own sources that sound quite the opposite of loving. I mean, even in the descriptors, you know what term I would never use to describe something that is love? Wrath. That's about the furthest thing I can think of. But God is a wrathful God, apparently. How very all-loving.
We were created to love God and to love others. And that's why we get so much happiness and joy when we do love God or when we do love others. The more that we love, the more that we live as we were created to live. The more that we function as we were created to function, the better we function.
Right, he's so bad at this, like I said, because he is completely incapable of articulating where his point is. But I think I understand. He thinks that we should want Christianity to be true because love feels good and God is love and infinite, so we can feel good forever. So basically, if we take only this as God's thing, which it isn't, but just to be really nice, God is an infinite hippie. Can you imagine spending eternity with a hippie? Now that sounds like hell, but ultimately, let's just argue that that would be a nice thing. What did you say?
Simply wanting something to be true obviously doesn't make it true.
And if wanting something to be true doesn't make it true, what was the f***ing point of this video? Prove your God exists or piss off.
Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. Nope, wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel Spoonstaff Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the